start there. Southbound 55, Gasconade Bates, a little heavy, but it looks good down in Jeffco. And they're working that crash eastbound Page west of North and South with injuries, and there's a bit of a jam there. Next update at 5:20 from the Overhead Door or Michael's Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
Discover Meadowview Memory Care in Arnold, a small, secure community on a beautiful campus. Enjoy peace of mind with all our inclusive rates and comfortable private suites. Schedule your tour today at rspseniorliving.com.
News, traffic, and the latest from the world of sports. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Rush Hour Sports on this Monday evening. Nate Gatter with you in for Kevin Wheeler. Bernie Miklasz joins me for Rush Hour Sports tonight, the Monday after the Super Bowl. Bernie, how you doing?
Nate, good to be with you again. I'm doing fine, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. The Seahawks 29-13 winners over the Patriots. They made it look smooth. They made it look suffocating. They were up 12-0 after three quarters, and this game really was never in doubt because of that Seahawks defense. And frankly, with the notable exception of their three games against the Rams, that's been a theme for the Seahawks, not just in the playoffs, but even for much of the latter half of the regular season, that their defense was just too good.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. If you take away the three Rams games for every other game they played this season, including the postseason, I mean, they held opponents to just around 14 points, a little bit over that, which may not sound like that's anything incredible, but it actually is pretty incredible. You just don't see that much anymore. And Nate, I don't know how you feel about what I call the fancy pants stats, but we're talking about advanced metrics. I always look at them because I respect the way the formulas are put together. According to your friend and mine, or acquaintance and mine, Aaron Schatz, I read that he believes this is like the sixth best defense of any defense in the league since 1978, like in terms of a single season defense.
Wow.
I wouldn't tell him he's wrong, because watching that yesterday took me back to other Super Bowls I covered, the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, the 1985 Bears, the 2013 Seahawks. I mean, I could name some others, but you get the idea. What do you think?
No, they were fantastic. What's been so interesting to me about the Seahawks defense in particular is their study in extremes of having rookies and second-year guys who are key players, and we saw that with Derek Hall's 2 sacks, with Nicky Manwari and everything he did this entire year, including in the postseason, including yesterday, despite playing on an ankle that he injured in the days leading up to the Super Bowl. But their combination of those guys with very veteran players, having 3 guys up front of that defensive line, including Leonard Williams, who had a couple of sacks in their 10th year or later in the league. 3 guys in the 30s, 3 guys who have played 10 or more years in the NFL. DeMarcus Lawrence also had some key moments, got some good backside pressures on Drake May as well, although who didn't? I mean, Will Campbell was not stopping many people coming around the left side of the Patriots offensive line, but they are just such an interestingly assembled roster, and one that is capitalizing, frankly, off the biggest storyline of them all, which is Sam Darnold's reclamation of his career. There are just very, very few guys we've seen in the history of the NFL, and no other quarterbacks in the modern history of the league, when the quarterback position has become the most important on the field by far, who have had the kind of career path that Darnold has had, where he was so left for dead that he was a backup several years into his career, spent that year in San Francisco as a backup, and then has totally reinvented himself and become one of the better quarterbacks in the league. In fact, this was as of week 18. I don't know if you add in the playoff games, but as of week 18, if you took his combined passer rating of the last 2 seasons and extrapolated it over an entire career. To be fair, 2 seasons is a relatively small sample size to be competing against other guys' entire careers. But he went from a guy outside the top 100 passer ratings in NFL history in his first 5 years in the league to his last 2 years. That number, which is a little over 100, would be 4th in the history of the NFL, ahead of Patrick Mahomes. It'd be behind only Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. I'm not saying he's the 4th best quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
And also, I'm not even saying that those 3 guys are the best 3. There are other metrics. But it just puts in perspective how dramatically he has improved, more or less out of nowhere.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I totally agree with what you're saying here. I wrote a column a couple weeks ago, and I don't think, frankly, many people saw it, but Let me give you the thrust of what I wrote. Sam Darnold is not a bad quarterback. Sam Darnold just had the more misfortune of being drafted third overall by a really, 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 really bad team. One that he couldn't overcome because no Jets quarterback has been able to overcome it. That team just basically kills careers. They're so bad in just about every way. So, but once he got away from the Jets and he had some time to recover, I didn't think he was bad in Carolina. And then I think he learned a lot from Kyle Shanahan, and he had, to your point, he played really well, for Minnesota, and then this year for Seattle. I think that's the quarterback that he really is. I don't think he had a fighting chance early in his career. And since I mentioned that, I want to bring up a name. To me, is a real strong parallel with Mr. I tell you, I'm like my brain's basically fried.
With Darnold.
The parallel to Sam Darnold, and that's Jim Plunkett. He was drafted first overall in 1970 by a hideous New England Patriots team. He got beat up. I mean, this guy just got killed every game. It's almost like they had to scrape him off the hard turf. He got so beat up, he was basically done, and they let go of him. And then the 49ers, who at that time were horrendous themselves, they signed him, and he got beat up some more and left for dead again. And finally, a really good team gave him a chance, a great team, as a matter of fact, the Raiders. And he won 2 Super Bowls for them. Now, they had a lot of talent around him, but that's kind of the point. I mean, he was in a no-hope situation, Plunkett, his first 2 stops in the NFL. Darnold was in a no-hope situation, his first 2 stops in the NFL, when they got to a place where they didn't have to be everything. Both of these guys showed, hey, I'm good. I can play. I'll show you. I'm not going to try to do too much. I got a great defense. I got a great running game. I got a great coach. So the Jim Plunkett and Sam Darnold parallel to me, and I covered those Raiders teams just from a distance, but I was an NFL writer the 2 years that he won that Super Bowl, Jim Plunkett. So watching the Sam Darnold thing play out yesterday, I just kept thinking to myself, man, this is Jim Plunkett all over again.
And it makes you think about the fact that, in the era of analytics and I think fantasy football too, more than anything, we've become really obsessive about the idea that running backs are a product of their environments, right? And that's probably, there's a lot of truth to that. There are certain guys who transcend it, right? The Saquon Barkleys of the world. But for the most part, if you're talking about what running back do you want on your fantasy team, you're not talking about who has the best combine measurables, who do you think is the most talented guy. You're thinking about how good is their offense, how good is their offensive line, do they have a passing game to play off of, how comfortable are you with the guy calling plays, all of that kind of thing. And maybe we don't spend enough time with the quarterbacks talking about the same things. What kind of coaching stability do they have? How often are they going through different schemes in their first few years in the league? How much pressure is on them to do a lot in year one with not a lot of talent around them and not a lot of stability in the building? What does the offensive line look like? What do the skill positions look like? All of those things. How often are they facing multi-score deficits in the second half because their defense is lousy and having to drop back on third down in the ball game when everybody knows what's coming and they're taking guys rushing around the edges and blowing them up all the time? And it's not that anybody is aloof to the fact that in a team sport, surroundings influence performance. But it is true, nonetheless, that I think with quarterbacks, because they seem so all-encompassing, we sometimes don't give them enough. It's kind of like a coach in other sports, right? We probably give them too much credit when the team succeeds, but also give them too much of the blame when the team fails.
No, that's so right. And to add to your point, if you look at the history of the NFL draft, and obviously I'm not going to sit here and read a list of draft picks, it'd be very boring, but there are so many guys drafted very, very early who were drafted by really poor organizations who really don't know what they're doing. Pardon me. And these quarterbacks are pretty much victims. And despite how many times it happens, and it happens over and over and over and over again, we never seem to learn the lesson of like, let's not rush to declare the quarterback a bust, because if there was a way to declare an entire franchise a bust, he happened to be the victim quarterback in that huge, big conglomerate that is one big bust with a bunch of people who have no idea what they're doing. And so I don't know why we don't learn from history, but maybe that's kind of the way America is today. I don't know. I just, but it really is like, can I throw in one more example?
Yeah.
And I had flashbacks yesterday. I know this will seem strange. In 2011, the Rams offensive coordinator was Josh McDaniels. It was really weird. He had just been fired as the Broncos head coach. He came to St. Louis. Sam Bradford was pretty good rookie quarterback the year before. And, you know, he took the job thinking, well, I can make something happen. Sam Bradford got beat up in his system. And Sam Bradford later in the year, Rams fans, will remember Sam Bradford had a terribly sprained ankle and just could not move at all. Like he just shouldn't have even been out there. Josh McDaniels is calling plays where he's leaving Bradford unprotected. You know, he's sending everybody out. They don't have any extra protection. They're breaking through. They're chasing him around. He's like literally hobbling away from pass rushers, and he's getting sacked. He's getting hit. He's getting smashed. And I remember there was a Monday night game in Seattle, and I remember John Gruden going off basically on this play calling. It's atrocious. This quarterback can't handle this right now, and this is a high-risk system that's going to leave your quarterback vulnerable. And so I thought of that, and I thought, you know, what if Sam Bradford had been drafted by a really smart organization? I think his career would have turned out better, right? And the other thing, last night, we all saw Josh McDaniels all night long drop their quarterback. Drake May drop him back 5-7 step drops, assuming he was going to have time to throw, which of course he didn't, waiting for deep shots down the field. He set his quarterback up all night with behind an offensive line that just allowed, it has to be one of the worst pressure rates in the history of the Super Bowl. The left tackle alone allowed 14 quarterback pressures. So Josh McDaniels, like what I saw with Sam Bradford in St. Louis, he sets his quarterback up as basically a tackling dummy because it can't protect him. The offensive plays he's calling, it's all wrong because you can't execute those plays. And Drake May was left to be basically turned into an assault victim for 3 hours or whatever. No, I mean, it was ridiculous. He did nothing to try to change the approach, which I have no understand. And I don't understand why, you know, there wasn't an order, you know, from on high to just, what are we doing here? Where are the screenplays? Where are the 3-step drops? Why aren't we spreading them out, throwing quick passes before, you know, the defense can cover them? We got to change up. But Mike Vrabel, who I think was a great coach, he was just as bad as his own offense coordinator. Sorry for the speech, but I was fired up.
No, we got to have it. Drake May sacked 6 times in the Patriots' 16-point loss in the Super Bowl yesterday. More Super Bowl thoughts with Bernie Miklasz when Rush Hour Sports continues after this.
Presenting a Gain Flings love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
No, we have some incidents out there right now. This traffic reports Service of Financial and Tax Strategies. Westbound Highway 70, we got I can't tell if it's a stall or crash just before Zumbel. Traffic jams approaching 94. If you're on Westbound 364, we had an incident right before Highway N that's backed up to Bryan Road as well. Westbound 64 is on the brakes. Kings Highway out to Clayton Skinker, and then it's slow from Lake St. Louis Boulevard out to 70. South 270 a little busy at Olive. North 270 a little slow at 64. They had a crash southbound 55 before Holly Hills. Traffic's backed up. Not a solid jam, but it's pretty heavy from south of Arsenal down to it. There was also one reported southbound 55 at 67. Vogel at the West Outer have a crash. They're still working the one eastbound Page, west to north and south. And eastbound 64, east of 255, midway up to the hill to 157, still heavy in the construction zone. I'm Roger Brand at the Michael's Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
Retirement shouldn't feel like balancing a checkbook while blindfolded. I'm Gary Goldberg, and my team helps you see the big picture so you can retire younger, richer, and with less anxiety. Because guessing is not a strategy. Tune in to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Nate Gatter, Bernie Miklasz back with you on Rush Hour Sports this Monday evening. Matt Pauley on his way down to Jupiter, Florida today to get the Cardinals spring training coverage going for us here on KMOX. We will have a lot of that over the next 6 weeks or so. Cardinals will play their opening spring training game in 12 days, Saturday the 21st. And, of course, KMOX is your home for spring training. And once we get to the regular season, all 162 here on 104.1 FM, 1120 AM on the free Odyssey app, where you can hear anything and everything we do, including all of these shows in podcast form on demand. You can also participate with the free talkback feature on that Odyssey app. Nate Gatter, Bernie Miklasz with you this evening. We'll have some Bernie Cardinals thoughts coming up later on in the show. First, let's finish up with the Super Bowl. And Bernie, we're talking about quarterbacks. I also mentioned the running back position and how sometimes it is sort of an afterthought in modern football, and with some good reasons, right? I think we've understood that if a running back is one of the highest paid players on your team, you're probably in trouble, that they are largely functions of what's going on around them, with a few very notable exceptions. But that didn't stop Kenneth Walker from winning the MVP last night. The Seahawks running back, who had 161 total yards from scrimmage, touched the ball 30 times. He's the first running back to win Super Bowl MVP since Terrell Davis of the Broncos in 1998. That was Super Bowl 32. Have to go from Super Bowl 32 to Super Bowl 60, from running back 7 to running back 8 to win the Super Bowl MVP all time. To put it in perspective, obviously the vast majority have been quarterbacks in the intervening period. In fact, the majority of all 60 have been quarterbacks. 34 of the 60 all-time MVPs have been quarterbacks. But since Terrell Davis was the last running back to win MVP of the Super Bowl before Kenneth Walker, that 28-year gap, there were 3 linebackers, a safety, and 5 wide receivers who won MVP in between running backs. If you had told somebody when Terrell Davis won MVP in 98, and he was the 7th running back in the first 32 Super Bowls to win MVP, so close to 25% of the time a running back was winning it, that it was going to take 28 years for the next guy to get one, I don't know if many folks would have believed you.
No, that's great research, and you're absolutely right. And listen, you know of this, and I know of this. I can't remember exactly when it changed, but all of a sudden it became a thing where analysts, for lack of a better term, were saying you don't draft running backs in the first round because running backs are everywhere. You just have to have a good offensive line, and you need a good offensive line to protect your quarterback anyway. So if you have the line in place and you can throw the ball a little bit, you can get by with a running back you draft in the 3rd or 4th round, and there's a chance the guy will become better than you think. And that's, in fact, that's happened. But I think we're seeing a change. I mean, you look at, if we use the Super Bowl as the backdrop, Kenneth Walker was brilliant yesterday, and after Seattle was dealing with injuries at the running back position, with Charbonnet out, and who was really a terrific. They gave him 1-2 punch. I and a lot of other people thought that Walker would have a harder time, but he didn't. And if you look at Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl, you look in 2 years ago, Christian McCaffrey had a really strong performance, 80 yards rushing, 80 yards receiving when they won the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback, but the Eagles have done well in the Super Bowl by running the football. And there are other examples, but I was trying to give the most recent examples. So it's interesting how the game may be changing, but yet we talk about trends and we assume they're going to stay in place, but I don't know that they will. The game's always evolving, but I think collectively around the NFL, the media, fans, even coaches, I think have a better appreciation for the running back position than they had, say, 7, 8, 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it shows you a lot of times in any sport, even now in ultra analytics areas across professional sports and college sports, for that matter, at the highest levels, that if there's enough of a zig, at some point somebody says, let's try a zag, right? And just see if we can find a comparative advantage somewhere. And, I wonder if the advantage the Eagles found with being willing to spend a little bit more than anybody else on Saquon Barkley as a free agent opened a few eyes and said, maybe as long as you're getting guys who are really on that elite end, not to say Kenneth Walker is perceived that way, but if you are getting guys on that elite end, they can still be difference makers in winning football games. And certainly they were with Walker and the Seahawks rolling over the Patriots last night. We'll take a break for the news. And on the other side, talk a little bit of Cardinals here in spring training with the spring training opener 12 days away with Bernie Miklasz. Don't forget as well, we will have Josh Schertz on the Billiken Coaches Show coming up right here on KMOX from 6 to 7. Josh Schertz, coach of the one-loss St. Louis Billikens, up to number 18 in the country. All of that and more still to come here on KMOX.
Hey, Happy New Year, big boy. Hey, what's up, Izzy? Also known as the Kool-Aid Man. You got any New Year's resolutions?
I got one, Eddie. I've promised myself to spend more time on that toasty, warm, huge, heated outdoor patio of yours. It's nothing like having your coat off, drinking the coldest beer in town with hundreds of your family, friends.
Man, it is a toasted patio, and that's a great resolution. And, thanks for not mentioning things like weight loss and health kick. And those would be hard in Fast Eddie's. It'd be hard to lose any kind of weight or take away from anything when you got the 5-pound Fat Eddie burger, the hot chick on a stick, that big Elwood on a stick, and those succulent peel-and-eat shrimp.
Yeah, I am not losing any weight hanging around your place. I learned it's a lot easier just to make those resolutions simple and fun, buddy.
Man, and that's easy. You're right. That's a great resolution. So make your resolution fun. And head on over to Fast Eddie's Bon Air. You know where to go across that big, beautiful Clark Bridge and come into Alton, Illinois. So like Mr. Shannon always said, if you're 21 and in the mood, we'll see you at Fast Eddie's Bon Air.
Kool-Aid Man.
St. Louis has a voice.
KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
That voice has shared our stories from headline to history.
David Freeze has just sent us into game number 7.
From moment to memory.
Presenting the Barnyard Follies.
Among those voices, Bill Wilkerson.
He fakes drop sets, looking, throwing upfield. It is.
Working at KMOX is an honor and a responsibility to represent this community. It's one we take seriously. KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
At 5:30, it's a mostly cloudy sky, 50 degrees. The news is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. Julie Walker reports on Lindsey Vohn's latest crash, her broken leg, and the end of her Olympic dream.
Skier Lindsey Vonn airlifted off the slopes at the Olympics in Italy after crashing Sunday, the crowd gasping. The hospital says she had to have surgery to stabilize a fracture in her left leg. In January, the 41-year-old tore her ACL in her left knee. A U.S. ski team doctor says she will be okay, but it will be a process. Within moments of the start of the race, Vonn lost control, clipping a gate with her right shoulder and pinwheeling down the slope, ending up on her back. Her skis crisscrossed below her, screaming in pain. The safety airbag under her racing suit inflating, possibly softening her landing. Teammate Breezy Johnson went on to win gold in the women's downhill after Vonn did it 16 years ago.
My heart aches for her. It's such a brutal sport sometimes.
I'm Julie Walker.
A public hearing is scheduled tomorrow on legislation that would bar educators from encouraging students to pursue gender transition.
The bill is sponsored by Republican Senator Joe Nicola of Jackson County. It would require school districts to fire any, quote, licensed educator who engages in conduct or conversation affirming a student's self-identification as a member of the opposite sex. The bill would also require school staff to notify the principal within 24 hours of a student expressing they belong to the opposite sex, and require the principal to notify the student's parents within 72 hours. Also, any staff member who identifies as an employee that encouraged a student to transition would be shielded from retaliation. Finally, any school or district that violates the proposed law could be sued by the parents or guardian of the student, and the Attorney General could also file suit and issue restraining orders against those schools and districts. The hearing is scheduled for Tuesday at 8 a.m. at the Missouri Capitol in Jefferson City. Marshall Griffin, Missouri Net.
Retired New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan has been named co-chaplain of the New York City Police Department.
New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch appointed the St. Louis native, along with the Reverend A.R. Bernard, the founder of the Christian Counseling Center, to lead the department's chaplains unit. They'll offer faith-based support to officers, preside over religious services, and may notify next of kin of the death of an officer. Cardinal Dolan tells the New York Times this part-time position will allow him to return to the everyday pastoral duties of being a good parish priest. Fred Bottomer, KMOX News.
We have overnight closures coming up in Wentzville this week. I'm Roger Brand. They're going to be closing down westbound Interstate 70 on Wednesday night between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. at the 64-61 interchange. You'll detour onto northbound 61 to get around that closure. And then Thursday night, they're going to be shutting down the eastbound side of 70 at that same location in Wentzville to set new girders in place for the new overpasses as part of the Rebuild 70 project. They'll use that 64 east exit for that one.
From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, for tonight, a clear sky, chilly overnight, low 42. For tomorrow, sunshine and a high of 62. Some showers tomorrow night, 35. And a little bit cooler Wednesday, high of 50. Right now, 50 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Hey, Bernie Miklasz here on behalf of Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin Comfort dealer that has been taking care of St. Louis families continuously since 1927. I'm chuckling because it's hard to almost to fathom that they've been doing this, the same family, for 100 years in St. Louis without interruption. Dan Saliga is the owner-operator of this proud family business that has been doing it the right way, the most trustworthy way since 1927. Just an incredible track record. The Miklasz family's been calling Saliga for 19 years or so, and I can testify to how honest they are and reliable they are when they come into your home. Their professionalism and their knowledge is obvious. They're classy. They never try to hustle you into something, talk you into something, try to get you to spend more money on a repair job that you don't really need. In our experience, they've always looked for the least expensive solutions, and we trust them 100%. It makes nobody ever wants to have a problem with their heating and cooling, but I'm telling you what, as a longtime Saliga heating and cooling client, if you got trouble in your home with that, you feel really good that you got Saliga you can lean on by calling them to give you the help and to also give you peace of mind. So they have a wide range of services. They also have a priority club maintenance program that'll save you money. So for all you need to know about this wonderful St. Louis family business, including the phone number, just go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thank you.
Hey, St. Louis City SC fans, mark your calendars now. The Boys in Red return to Energizer Park to kick off Season 4 Saturday, February 21st. And you could be there for the dawn of a new golden era of St. Louis soccer. Go to stlcitysc.com/tickets and reserve your seat now for the MLS home opener versus Charlotte FC. Limited quantities remain. See you soon, St. Louis.
Hey guys, Kevin Wheeler here. I want to tell you about 213 Complex. And you can pick that up at supplement superstores. And quite simply, 213 Complex is the most effective and powerful all-natural weight loss supplement ever developed. Here's what it's doing for me and what it'll do for you. Boost the metabolism, gets it working at full go all the time. Helps with cravings. And man, that's a big deal for me. All-day focus energy with no jitters, no crash at the end of the day. It's a great tool for achieving your goals. Get out to supplement superstores. Tell them Kevin Wheeler sent you in. They will knock 30% off your 213 Complex. And you can find your location at supplementsuperstores.com.
Hi, this is Charlie Brennan. I see clearly now thanks to the doctors, Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andy Royer. You can too. YourEyeDoc.com.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So I own a coffee shop, and I wanted to label everything with our logo.
That's ambitious.
Cups, boxes, bags.
Ooh, that'll add up.
Not at all, because right now, Staples prints custom labels for 30% off.
30% off? That's shockingly affordable branding.
Yep, now our logo and URL are seen all over town.
Brand your business for less at Staples.
That was easy.
Shop Staples in store, online, or in the app by 442 Unlock. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Rush Hour Sports continues on this Monday evening. Nate Gatter with you, Bernie Miklasz alongside. We're going to get to those Bernie Cardinals thoughts in just a moment, I promise. But
Sure.
We got a couple minutes here before we give you that last traffic update of the hour at 5:40. So let's use them quickly on the St. Louis Billikens, who thankfully are not playing tomorrow because the last few Tuesdays have been problematic. They almost coughed up the lead at Duquesne back in mid-January. They had the big deficit at home they had to come back from against George Washington, one on the Robbie Avila buzzer beater, and then they built a double-digit hole on the road against Davidson last Tuesday and needed a 16-0 run to come back and take the lead and ultimately win by 9 in that game. They will be off Tuesday, thankfully, and then at Loyola on Friday, at Rhode Island before back home to play VCU. But, Bernie, this is a team that just doesn't have a very big margin for error. They should win those games, but part of what makes them hard is that they should win them.
Well, that's right. They're a target, right? And we've seen teams come out in the first half, like the other day. LaSalle played over their heads with amazing, really impressive tenacity, intensity. And I don't think they really caught the Billikens off guard. But as Coach Schertz was talking about, they needed a little bit of a wake up. They just weren't playing tough enough. They weren't physical enough, both ends of the floor. One of the reasons why he's such a great coach, and also why he's an example of how he has developed the team culture. He will go in there at halftime. We've seen it many, many times over the last 2 years, but especially this year. He will tell them exactly what they have to do, and he will give them hell, and he will not lower his voice, and he'll get after them. But the thing of it is, instead of pouting, sulking, I'm tired of this guy talking to it, they respond immediately because this culture is something that just protects the team, if you will. It prevents this team from getting all caught up in ego or rolling over in adversity or getting mad at the coach if he's honest with them. And this is just such an ideal combination of coach, players, and culture that you could hope for if you're the fan of a program. This is a really wonderful thing. The other thing, the other day, I'm watching it, and as they're starting to run away, and everybody's scoring, and the Billikens had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in double figures, and they were all spaced together really close. Sharma had 15 points, and a couple guys had 13, another one had 12, and I'm like, that's another beautiful thing about St. Louis U basketball this season. They're not overly dependent on one guy. I mean, pardon the cliche, but it truly is a team. And these guys take turns having the hot hand. Okay, let's get the ball to him. He's doing really well right now. I don't need the ball right now. I don't need to shoot. They defer to each other, and they recognize who the ball should go to, given a situation. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
The Billikens have a 9-man rotation. 8 of those 9 guys have scored 18 points or more in at least one game this year. We will hear more from Josh Schertz coming up in just about 20 minutes when we have our Billikens Coaches Show right here on KMOX. Bernie's Cardinals thoughts after traffic.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we have some incidents out there late, unfortunately. I'm looking at the one right now, westbound 364. Before you get to 64, it was originally reported as a wrong-way driver. EMS on the scene, the left lane shut down both ways. The eastbound side's backed up to 64. Westbound 364 is almost backed up to K. Westbound 70, they cleared an incident we had at Zembel, but traffic's jammed 5th Street to 94. Southbound 55 working a crash at Bates, left lane block. It's a solid jam back through Gasconade, and then Butler Hill, about midway down to Merrimack Bottom. We have an incident with lane blockage there as well. Westbound 64, that's just slow from the Science Center out to McCausland. After that, you're home free. And Illinois drivers still have some slow traffic. Eastbound 64, 157, midway up the hill to 159. And southbound 55 looks like they cleared that crash at 67 in Festus. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty 314-325-6888.
Need to sell your home and you want the most money? The name to remember is Gloria Lou. Yes, Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty at 314-325-6888 and start packing.
Bernie Miklasz, let's talk about those St. Louis Cardinals now because the spring training schedule is going to get underway in just 12 short days. Saturday, the 21st, the Cardinals will have their first spring training game of 2026, hosting the Washington Nationals in Jupiter. Matt Pauley on his way down to Florida today. He's getting settled, and he will anchor our Cardinals coverage for the early part of spring training. Tom Ackerman will bring it home as he does annually. But obviously, spring training is a weird time because everybody's so excited for it to arrive just out of principle of having baseball back. Pretty quickly, we tend to get ready for it to leave as well so that we can have regular season games and play real baseball and have the Cardinals here in St. Louis and not many miles away in Jupiter. But spring training serves a purpose, especially for a ball club like this one. You could maybe argue that compared to any recent season in Cardinals history, spring training and the regular season are going to be less different from each other than ever because a lot of the goals of spring training, figuring out what you have in a particular guy, where you can trust him, where you can't, are going to carry over to the regular season this year for the Cardinals more so than is typical. With that in mind, what is the top item, maybe the top couple of items that you have on your mind that you're looking for in spring training?
Well, first of all, I want to compliment you because you laid that out very well. And I know exactly what you're talking about because I was thinking about it this morning, putting together a video for STL Sports Central. This will be very much unlike any spring training that I will have observed really since I came back to St. Louis a long time ago to start writing a column. Because the Cardinals have always had veteran teams. They've always had a couple, 3 all-stars in the place. They've had veterans, older guys, a lot of them in the place. There are no all-stars in camp, and they have the second youngest team in the majors in terms of the average age of the roster. And if anything, they're going to get even younger. And it's my belief that this spring training is also different, and I'm only going by my own standards. In the past, I've always been one of those guys saying, I don't care what a guy hits. Let him get ready for the season. I don't care what this pitcher's ERA is. He knows what he's doing. He's experimenting with a new pitch. I don't care about stats. I don't care about numbers. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. They're all working on their thing. But this year, I actually think the stakes are a little higher. And this gets to your point because this is a team that's loaded with prove it guys. You got to prove it type guys. They have to make a great impression. When Chaim Bloom comes out repeatedly and says J.J. Weatherholt has to earn a spot on the roster, And every time that he's asked that, it's the same thing. We love him, blah, 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 but we're not going to give anything to him. He has to earn it. So I was thinking, Nate, and this gets to your point. I was thinking, well, if JJ Weatherholt has to, quote, earn it, he's going to be the new face of the franchise. He's one of the top 5 prospects in baseball, and he does everything well. If he has to, quote, earn it, well, what about all the other players? You know, I mean, like, are they going to be, they're not going to be giving jobs away if, like, I'm just going to use him as an example, and I'm not trying to pick on him. You know, if Andre Palante has a spring where his ERA is 4.98 or whatever, there would be no justification. Once the boss has said, Weatherholt's got to earn it, basically saying everybody's going to earn a job. Okay. The guys know what the stakes are. They know what's on the line. And I'm not saying they got to treat it like it's Game 7 of the World Series, but they better make an impression. It's in their best interest. And guys like Walker and Gorman, it's never too early for them to show, hey, I've worked hard. It's been a very helpful offseason. I'm ready to go. I know what's expected of me. Let's go. Let's get this done. We got to see that from them, and we got to see that from some other guys. And there's a lot of starting pitcher candidates. They're all going to be jousting with each other. I like there's going to be more competition this year, and I really like it.
But, you know, you make a great point that I hadn't even thought about, that the Cardinals don't have a single all-star in camp this year. I wonder, when's the last time, and I can't imagine how long you'd have to go back, that the Cardinals had an opening day roster without a single player who's ever been an all-star.
It goes all the way back to the first all-star game, 1933.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals, so effectively the Cardinals have never had this. As long as the all-star game has existed, the Cardinals have always had at least one player who was an all-star before.
Yeah, going into the season, going into spring training. Because, you know, they may have traded for one later in the season, but that's not the same thing. So they have some potential all-stars, but again, this is time to sort it all out. And no, I can promise you that I'm not going to be sitting here on either the Rush Hour or Gas House Gang. And if JJ Weatherholt's hitting like 220, like 3 weeks into the exhibition schedule, I'm not going to say, well, they better get that kid to Memphis. You know, there are exceptions, but I mean, in the general spirit of things, some guys are going to have to earn jobs who last year, frankly, probably didn't have to earn jobs, right?
We'll take one more break, wrap up the Cardinals conversation, heading into Josh Schertz and the Billiken Coaches Show at 6 o'clock. That's all to come here on Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
Are you turning 65 or new to Medicare? Humana knows not everyone has the same needs when picking a Medicare Advantage plan.
Now that I'm retired, I want to enjoy the life I've worked hard to build. So I want a plan that covers me when I'm traveling the country.
Humana has a plan for that.
As a veteran, I want a plan that fills in the gaps my VA coverage doesn't provide, like dental care.
Humana has a plan for that.
I feel good about my health. I just want care and coverage with predictable costs. No surprises.
Humana has a plan for that. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you get coverage and benefits that focus on what matters most to you. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Time is valuable. That's why Lowe's Blueprint Takeoffs turn blueprints into quotes faster. Bring us your plans, and we'll generate itemized material lists to make quoting easier so you can get back to building. Plus, at the Lowe's Pro Desk, you get access to thousands of building materials not sold in store. And when your order's ready, we'll deliver everything to the job site. Improving is easy at Lowe's.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Renewal by Andersen is the #1 window and door brand for customer service. Schedule your free inspection today. Call 877-WINDOWS. That's 877-WINDOWS. Or head to rbastl.com.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we still got this injury crash on Highway 364. They opened up the eastbound left lane, but the westbound left lane still closed. It's 364 westbound just before you get to 64. Traffic's jammed west of Highway K, eastbound a short backup, but that might thin out now that they opened the left lane on that side. Westbound Highway 70, still a little slow west of 94 to Zumbel. That's due to an earlier incident. Westbound 64, Science Center headed out to McCausland's heavy, but after that, you're good to go. Southbound 55, just a little busy at Bates. They cleared that earlier crash. Still pretty heavy from Butler Hill, midway down to Merrimack Bottom from a recent incident. And eastbound 64 is still slow from 157 midway up the hill to 159. And it looks like eastbound 270, we have an incident now, a crash or a stall near 370. It's jammed just past the Rock Road. I'm Roger Brand in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Wrapping up Rush Hour Sports on this Monday evening. We will have the Josh Schertz Billikens Coaches Show coming up in a few minutes, and then Sports Open Line taking you from 7 to 8 this evening. Ryan Leaf will be with me to talk about the Super Bowl from last night. Seahawks over the Patriots 29-13. But Bernie Miklasz is with me right now, and so we are talking a little bit of Cardinals to wrap things up here. And Bernie, just some final thoughts, because I am floored by the fact that the Cardinals have never had this situation before. As long as the All-Star game has existed since 1933, every subsequent season, 1934 to 2025, the Cardinals opening day roster had at least one guy on it who had been an All-Star. That streak will end at 91 or 92 seasons in a row.
Unreal.
On opening day this year, barring an All-Star acquisition in the next 6 weeks, which seems very unlikely. So with that in mind, who on this roster, if you had to pick somebody, is most likely to represent the Cardinals at the 2026 All-Star game? Because we know that baseball, if they have it their way, would like to have one representative from every team, but the Cardinals, as compared to past years, don't have an obvious option.
I'm going to go something predictable. I think it's going to be J.J. Weatherholt for the same reason why national media, not every media outlet, but the people that focus on baseball have a pretty good track record. They think J.J. Weatherholt's the favorite, the unofficial favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Well, that's certainly not that's certainly not kind of crazy. I mean, that would actually make sense. That's totally feasible and doable. So along those lines, if he is putting together a season that puts him in strong contention for Rookie of the Year, I would dovetail off that and say that also gives him a really good possibility of being the Cardinals All-Star representative, if there's only one. Maybe the first guy in line.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that could make perfect sense. I think in a perfect world, you'd love for it to be somebody, one of the guys who has a few years of experience taking the next. I mean, you'd love to have multiple, but you'd love to see somebody like an Alec Burleson or a Mason Wynn, or, if everything went perfect, Nolan Gorman, somebody like that, put together a really nice first half. Honestly, if Chaim Bloom had his choice, you know who he might pick? Because we're talking about who's going to have a great first half. He might pick Lars Nootbaar, because he's like, you know what? I'd love to have you in the All-Star game in mid-July and then trade you at the end of the month.
No doubt about it. That's a good one. Lars Nootbaar is one of the most important players they have. And we don't know the timetable of when he's back in the lineup. We know that last year he did play a career-high number of games, but he also had his worst season offensively and defensively, and he's lost a lot of speed over the last couple of years. And we know that he was hurt. He needed double heel surgery. So I give the guy credit for pushing through a lot of pain last year. But that said, his contract, the Cardinals' contract control of Nootbaar expires after the 2027 season. And a team, if they can get him in the lineup and he looks good and he looks healthy and he looks quick and everything else, I think that Chaim Bloom would get really good value for him in a trade. So
we know there are teams out there, especially the more analytically inclined ones, that have had him on their board for a long time. He's one of those potential guys. Not that his production hasn't been good, but one of those guys whose potential has infatuated a lot of those more analytically inclined teams. Bernie, appreciate your time in this hour. As always, a lot of fun, my friend.
Always enjoy working with you. Looking forward to the next time. And look, I'm going to look. Excuse me. I tell you what, I need to go to sleep early. I'm really looking forward to hearing Josh Schertz coming up next as well. Thank you.
Josh Schertz after the news, Billiken Coaches Show, the red hot St. Louis Billikens, and then Sports Open Line to follow that. Thanks for being with us for this edition of Rush Hour Sports. Stay right here. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Health Trends.